Hello everyone, my name is Christina Krustova and today I will be presenting my research topic on whiteness, identity, and privilege among European Americans. In this project, I examine how physical and regional differences among European Americans influence perceptions of belonging and awareness of white privilege. Although European Americans are grouped into a single racial category, differences in appearance and heritage reveal internal hierarchies within whiteness. By using several sociological concepts, I argue that whiteness is not only socially constructed, but also unequal and historically shaped. These internal variations show that whiteness is more complicated than we often assume. My topic focuses specifically on how physical features and regional ancestry, especially Balkan, Mediterranean, or darker featured backgrounds, affect European Americans' experiences of whiteness. This matters because it challenges the idea that whiteness is a uniform experience. It brings attention to internal hierarchies that usually go unnoticed, and it highlights the ongoing process of racialization even within groups that appear socially dominant. The purpose of this project is to show that whiteness functions as a hierarchy instead of a single monolithic identity. I also aim to demonstrate how stereotypes, physical appearance, and cultural history all shape someone's sense of belonging. Another purpose is to reveal that not all European Americans are fully aware of the privilege that they receive when they are socially treated as white, and overall, the project contributes to sociological conversations about race, identity, and the construction of social categories. My research is guided by 3 questions. First, how do physical and regional differences shape European Americans' sense of belongings? Second, how do these differences affect their awareness of white privilege? And third, how do these complexities challenge the idea of whiteness as a uniform category? These questions help me analyze the layers that exist within whiteness. My thesis is that although European Americans are categorized as a single racial group, differences in appearance and regional heritage expose whiteness as a socially constructed hierarchy. These differences influence how people feel about their identity and how aware they are of the privilege that they receive. Whiteness is not simply one thing, it contains internal ranking and variation. My analysis relies on several sociological concepts, the first being the sociological imagination, which helps us see how personal identity and privilege are shaped by larger social structures. Next is the social construction of race, which explains that categories, like whiteness, are created and maintained by society. I also use the concepts of whiteness and white privilege, which refer to the advantages people receive when they are socially recognized as white. Assimilation is important historically because earlier European immigrants were not originally considered white but became white over time. And I also use race as a social category and ethnicity to explain cultural heritage. Stereotypes also play a major role in shaping who feels fully accepted within whiteness. Racism is relevant because it's the structure that gives whiteness its power. And finally, the idea of multiple identities helps explain how people can see themselves as both ethnically distinct and white at the same time, which can create internal tension. To understand modern experiences, it's important to start with the history of whiteness. Whiteness is a socially constructed category that has long held economic, political, and social power. Historically, many European groups, such as Italians, Greeks, and Poles, were viewed as racially different and were sometimes excluded from full whiteness. Over time, through assimilation, these groups were absorbed into whiteness, and this history shows that whiteness has always been flexible and hierarchical. It shifts depending on social and political conditions, which reveals that race is constructed rather than biological. Even today, European Americans don't all experience whiteness in the same way. People with darker features or those of Balkan or Mediterranean descent may sometimes feel that they do not fully match the cultural image of the typical white American. Stereotypes tied to ethnicity, such as perceptions about behavior, appearance, or culture, can shape someone's self perception. These differences show that whiteness is not uniform and that some individuals experience subtle boundaries within it. This leads into the idea of internal versus external perception, because internally, some European Americans may not feel completely white because of their features or their ethnic background. Externally, however, society still treats them as white. This gap can create identity tension, similar to a form of double consciousness, though experienced differently from Dubois' original context. Even if someone feels ethnically distinct, the way society categorizes them determines their privilege, so their internal struggle does not remove the advantages they receive in interactions with institutions or law enforcement or even workplaces. Even with internal identity differences, European Americans still receive the structural advantages associated with whiteness. Many take these privileges for granted because they don't always recognize how deeply embedded these benefits are. This is where the sociological imagination becomes important. Mills explains that people often see their social advantages as personal achievements instead of structural outcomes. For example, a European American may believe they get positive treatment from authority figures simply because they're respectful or responsible without seeing how race shapes the interaction. This lack of awareness helps maintain racial inequality because privilege becomes invisible. Historically, European immigrants gained access to whiteness only after undergoing assimilation, as said previously, changing names, adopting American cultural norms, or distancing themselves from their ethnic origins. Their descendants today inherit the privileges that came from that shift, even if they still look or feel ethnically different. This past exclusion turning into modern exclusion reinforces the racial hierarchy. And appearance still affects where someone fits within whiteness, but the structural benefits remain the same. And then one common counter argument is that all European Americans benefit equally from white privilege, so internal differences don't matter. It's true that anyone categorized as white receives broad structural advantages, but internal identity struggles still shape how individuals understand themselves and their place in society. Someone with darker features may experience different stereotypes or be asked identity based questions that lighter featured Europeans may never face. These differences do not take away privilege, but they do make whiteness more complex. So, therefore, variation within whiteness matters because it influences belonging, perception, and how privilege is understood. In conclusion, physical and regional differences among European Americans reveal that whiteness is hierarchical rather than uniform. While all European Americans benefit from racial privilege, some experience internal identity tension based on appearance or ancestral background. These variations deepen our understanding of race as something socially constructed, not natural or fixed. And recognizing these differences helps reveal how racial hierarchy continues to function in subtle but powerful ways. And here are the main academic works I drew from, including Dubois and Mills. Thank you.